Okay, this video is about how to make your character blink when you get hit, and then it'll stop after so many seconds, and you're able to move back and forth, and you'll be able to, do your thing, jump, move back and forth, and get hit. And this is not utilizing a new image. We're using code that deals with alpha. So I'll show you how to do that. And there's also a video that you can follow. I'll put it in the link down below that you can watch, because I got the video from a different source on YouTube. You can watch him. He explains a little more in detail than I will, but I will do my best to explain it to you. So we're not utilizing another image here when he gets hit, because we're trying to save file space and all that stuff. And so this is you can use the alpha code built in Game Maker in order to achieve this effect when you get hit. Okay, so in the object player, do a coded script in the code tab, and this is the first step. You say invincible equals 0. So this means that you're able to take damage, but this is pretty much stating to take damage. So that means you can take damage when you get hit. Pretty much that's what it's saying. But it's at 0. So at that point in time, you're not getting hit. Then, okay, so then in the alarm 0, you say invincible equals 0. Okay, so that means you're not getting hit right now. Then alarm 1, this is what happens. So if your image alpha is equal to 1.0, which I believe that means that it's not transparent, then it can jump to equal 0.3, else image equals alpha 1.0. So I believe this 0.3 means is when you're actually getting hit, and it really shows a transparency on the image of your character. Then it goes to 1.0, which shows less transparency. Then if invincible equals 1, that means you're starting to blink now. It's going to last up to 8 milliseconds for alarm 1. Then it's going to jump back to 0 again, and your alpha's back at 1.0. That means you're back to not being transparent anymore. So you start out not being transparent, then when you get hit, you're 0.3, and then it kind of blinks back and forth from 0.3 to 1.0, and does that for 8 milliseconds in alarm 1, and then it goes back to normal to not getting hit anymore, and you're fully solid right here. I believe that's what it's pretty much stating here. So then it goes to alarm 1 for 8 milliseconds. Yeah, so that's what that does. So in alarm 1, it blinks back and forth for 8 milliseconds, then jumps back to whole, where you're not getting hit anymore, because it timed out basically, and you're not getting hit anymore. So you get hit, it blink, and then you go back to normal, and then it shoots another weapon out, and then you blink again for a couple of milliseconds, 8 milliseconds, and then it stops and you're normal again. So that's what happens. Then if you collide with the boss, the bad guy, then you just jump back to the beginning of the stage where you were originally, back to self. And then I talked about the wall before, boundaries. You just set your horizontal to 0 in speed, and your vertical to 0 in speed, so that way you don't get stuck in the wall. Then when you get hit by the bad guy fireball, you know, this is what happens. So if you start out at 0, meaning that you're fully whole and you're not transparent, it's going to destroy the fireball. Let's set the other. Don't set it to self, because you'll destroy yourself. You set it to other, you destroy the fireball. Then player takes damage, and then you change to equal 1, and then it jumps through the alarm settings. Alarm 0, 90 milliseconds, I believe, and then alarm 1 equals 1. I think 1 second, 90 milliseconds, and 1 alarm, and then 1 second there. So it jumps to those alarm settings, which I talked about up here, 0, 1, 0, alarm 0, and 0, alarm 1. So when you get hit by the fireball, it destroys the fireball, but at the same time it changes your character from 0 to 1, which goes through the alarm settings to making your opacity lighter and transparent, because you're getting hit. And then after so many milliseconds, it's going to go back to normal, where you see your solid self again. So that's what's happening here. And that's pretty much it. Everything else I've talked about, where you're moving back and forth. And in the bad guy, there's nothing going well. In the bad guy, talked about this before. I set it to alarm 0, 100 milliseconds. And alarm 0 kicks in, 100 milliseconds. And then he's going to fire his weapon. Bad guy's going to fire his weapon. And then the weapon's set to X and Y. This is where the location of where he's going to shoot it out at, pretty much at his mouth location. Set it to relative. And then and then it's going to jump back to not firing a weapon. So I guess something to learn here, you don't have to worry about making another image of the bad guy actually firing the weapon and switching back and forth to not firing to firing. You can use the same image to achieve that same effect, so you're not using more image space. So you can just throw the firing the weapon in with the object bad guy, and that create movement instances in the main 1 tab there. You just drag over. You want to set it to relative, that way it's going to shoot in that location of the bad guy. So set the bad guy, and then the fire weapon, object bad fire. I didn't have a speed or direction because that's already set in the bad guy fire, where he's going to shoot that out left, 10 speed. You could potentially not have anything in here in the bad guy fire weapon and put it in this create movement instance, where you could add the speed and direction. You probably didn't have to use the create movement. You could have probably used this create instance instead of create movement. But this is another way of reducing file space. Instead of, you can use the same object fire weapon with another bad guy, and you could have it go in a different direction. So you could change the speed and direction of the fire weapon to go in anywhere you want to go on the screen, and just make sure that you don't have anything in here set. So you just got to go online to figure out the direction of where you want the angle to go at, and then the speed. So I do have, like, I can show you this real quick if it comes up. I have a link set here for direction for Game Maker Studios. Like, it tells you the direction here. 90 degrees is straight up, 360 is right, 180 is left, and 270 is down. And then there's other angles here that you can find, and I do have a link on that, but I gotta find it real quick here so I can show you. I can put the link in the description. Yeah, I can't find it right now. Here's the link. I'll give this to you also. So you got directions here. So now, see, now you have it 90. Now you also here have it 45. You can shoot it out at 45, and then you can shoot it down at 315 or 270 straight down, or another angle going left at 225, going straight to the left 180, or up at 135. So I'll put all this in the description down below. I know I have a tutorial on weapon shooting for a bad guy that goes in all directions, but I'll put this link in there as well. So you can use these coordinates here to put it in this direction area, so you can have the weapon shoot out in that certain direction, and you don't have to worry about making a direction for this fireball. And you can actually utilize this fireball for another bad guy, so you don't have to keep making images up for the weapon. And you just take all this stuff out right here, and you just put the direction in here and the speed, so you're not wasting space, image space, on your weapon. So you utilize the same image fire weapon for all your bad guys or whatever, but just change your direction, the speed for each of your characters, instead of making several object fire weapons and then putting the direction in there, which is kind of wasting time and space, just to save you some time. Okay, well, thanks for watching.